So today I'm here with Terry Gorry, like Laurie, as we pointed out. So I thought it would be really good for some of my followers from a legal standpoint to understand exactly what a solicitor does. So we're going to ask Terry some questions here. And Terry, thanks so much for your time today.
No problem.
So in simple terms, what does a solicitor actually do when purchasing a home? Now we'll obviously get into it in more detail, but kind of broad line, what is it that you do when somebody's purchasing a home?
When we're acting for a client purchasing a home, our job, our principal role is to ensure that they get good title, so good legal title to the property. And that, involves looking at obviously the contract and looking at the title documents that are being offered and ensuring that they get good legal title to the property. We have to do that for not just the purchaser but also for the lender, who will have us on the hook in terms of our solicitor's undertaking to get good marketable title. And if there's any issues with title or planning permission or anything of that nature, rights of way, access, well then we're in difficulty, we're in trouble.
And the lender won't lend.
And the lender won't lend, but the lender won't know, remember, because they're relying on our undertaking. So we need to be absolutely careful. And that's why it can be a frustrating, slow process from time to time, but we need to be careful that
people don't see that side.
People don't see that because they know, but they don't understand that we need to be absolutely clear about services, the road abutting the property, legal access to it, and so on and so forth, because we're on the hook. And ultimately, we could be struck off as solicitors if we're in breach of our undertaking. So
being a professional body, of course, yeah. And it's probably a very basic question, but some people might know the answer. At what point should somebody actually appoint a solicitor? Like, do you think they should have a solicitor appointed before they start searching for a property and are ready to go, or? I
don't think so. I think it's time enough when they actually go sale agreed.
Okay.
They can go sale agreed and they pay or ask to pay a booking deposit to the estate agent. The estate agent at that stage then will be looking for a solicitor to be nominated, and the lender, obviously, if there's a lender involved, will also need a solicitor to be nominated. But that's probably time enough.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Once a property is sale agreed and the purchaser has paid their booking deposit to the estate agent, what legally happens next?
The vendor solicitor then sends out the contracts and the copy title, and then the purchaser solicitor reviews the contracts, reviews the special conditions, reviews the copy title that's provided, and raises the necessary questions to ensure good title. And
those questions are usually referred to as queries?
They're queries, they're pre-contract queries or inquiries or questions, whatever. The bottom line is we need to know certain things about the property. We need to be satisfied that there's legal access to it, for example, that it's not up some sort of a laneway over which there's some dispute, and it's only 6 months later that some farmer comes along and says, where are you going? You know what I mean? Then we have a problem. So that sort of thing needs to be ascertained.
This kind of carries on to that question as well then. What checks and searches does a solicitor actually carry out on a property?
Well, we look at, obviously, the copy title that's furnished. We go through what's known as pre-contract or pre-contract inquiries, and then we're furnished with replies to standard requisitions. There are 46 requisitions or questions, which are Law Society standard stuff, but they deal with every aspect of the property, and we must get satisfactory replies to those. So between those standard requisitions, the replies, the questions that we might raise, any queries our client might have as well, to ask us maybe to put to the other side, all of those questions need to be asked. We need to get satisfactory answers, and only when we're satisfied can we get our clients in to sign contracts.
And that actually leads in perfectly to my next question. So what does it mean when people say contracts are signed? What are you actually signing?
Well, I mean, the purchaser is signing 2 contracts, and that is, from a legal perspective, they're offered to buy the property. They're sent then to the vendor solicitor, and it's only when the vendor comes in to their solicitor, signs both contracts and sends one back, that there's a binding contract in place. So that's where you have the basic offer, acceptance, and a binding contract coming into being. And it is possible that you could sign a contract, return it, and the vendor might say, I'm not signing that, I've changed my mind, well then you don't have a binding contract. All you have is an offer, and unfortunately the offer hasn't been accepted.
Fall through. So really
It'll
it's
fall
until
through.
they're exchanged.
Exactly. Until the other side signs and sends back the contract, there's no contract in place. And it is possible for a purchaser as well to change their mind.
I've seen it on both sides.
And we must write a letter though in sufficient time. There's a postal rule. There's a lot of case law about this, offer and acceptance and so on, and it's kind of contract 101 stuff, but you can actually withdraw an offer provided you put it in writing and send it to the other side. So even if the other side did sign the contract, you could say, I withdrew that offer.
Okay, very good. What can go wrong legally if a buyer doesn't get proper advice? Well, they obviously have to use a solicitor from a legal standpoint anyway, but what can go wrong if they
Well, the biggest problem, I think, for most potential buyers is if they want to ignore the advice that they're given.
Okay.
Now, most people won't. Most people will accept the advice, and sometimes, though, they will try and put pressure on the solicitor to go ahead and overlook perhaps a planning issue or a planning defect. But a solicitor can't do that because, as I said earlier on in this conversation, the solicitor is on the hook with the lender in relation to the solicitor's undertaking. So we can't turn a blind eye, and no matter how much in love a purchaser may be with the property, we have to be careful to ensure we get good title and so on.
So it's only really if somebody goes against their solicitor.
Yes, and even then a solicitor might say, look, I'm not prepared to give an undertaking on that basis. You may get yourself another solicitor.
Unless,
do you know what I mean?
say, if they're a cash buyer, they can...
If they're a cash buyer, then they can say, look,
story,
I know what I'm doing, you've warned me, I know there's a problem, I'm prepared to take the chance. That's fine. It's their money, there's no third party, there's no bank. I'm happy enough then, but they need to be clear.
It's a tricky one. Okay, what's one thing every buyer should understand about the legal process before they ever go sale agreed?
I think they need to understand and accept that it's frustrating, or it can be frustrating.
Agreed.
It can be slow, it can be frustrating. But they need to visualise, I think, a duck going across a serene lake where there appears to be nothing going on the surface, but underneath
the water.
They are paddling furiously. And that's a solicitor, I would add, say is working away and must get those satisfactory replies to queries. There's no point going through the motions, raising queries and not getting satisfactory replies and just going through the motions. They must get satisfactory replies, and if they didn't do that, well then they're not serving their client properly, you know.
What's one of the biggest, as a solicitor, when you're looking at property and conveyancing, what's one of the biggest frustrations you have as a solicitor?
One of the biggest frustrations, I suppose, and I probably shouldn't criticise members of the profession, but dealing with certain colleagues, it can be frustrating insofar as sometimes there is an inordinate delay with replies coming back, and sometimes it happens that the property goes on the market prematurely in circumstances where perhaps it's a probate sale and the grant or the application for probate has only just gone in, and we're looking at a 6 month
in some cases hasn't even been put in.
And may not even have been put in. That's very frustrating.
Do you think that, I know there's a lot of work going on with government and IPAV and a lot of my colleagues on trying to bring in a seller's pack and putting more, I suppose, discipline around estate agents when they're putting properties to market. What do you think from a legal standpoint would help the process? Because it is a little bit slow. Some people will call it archaic with how conveyancing is done in Ireland compared to other countries. What do you think could improve that?
Well, look, there's a move, or has been a move for a number of years now, to look at e-conveyancing or sort of online conveyancing. How that's going to work, I'm not really sure. But I'd say with the advances in technology now, and with AI, and with the likes of what Elon Musk is doing in relation to robotics and so on and so forth, it should be within the grasp of the legal profession and estate agents as well to come up with some system which can be quicker and can have perhaps a legal pack and legal documents and so on and so forth available online, relatively quickly. But again, if any particular, it takes time, and if any particular individual is slow or tardy in doing their thing, well then it can lead to delays, and a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and that's the problem.
Yeah, and I've seen it from both sides.
Yeah.
When you are working with clients overseas, how, and they may never come to Ireland before they actually sign the contracts, how do you manage clients that are outside of the country?
Clients that are outside of the country first make contact with us probably online, send us an email, we arrange a Zoom consultation, we discuss the situation with them, and we can act for them without any difficulty, because ours is basically a desk-based, document-based exercise. But we do have to point out to them that the difficulty from their perspective will be actually physically looking at the property and being satisfied about the property. Now, you're a buyer's agent, and that's where you obviously come in, but like, we can only do so much. We don't physically go out, and put the Wellingtons on and look at properties. And we can help them, we can act for them, we can act quickly and efficiently, but ultimately they need to decide, they need to kick the curb, as it were, on each property, or have someone do it, and know if it's for them or not, and that's the difficulty.
And when it comes to them actually signing contracts,
they can,
they
can authorise us. Yeah, they can authorise us to sign
power
contracts.
Of attorney or?
Power of attorney. All they have to do is send us a simple email confirming that we are being instructed and have the authority to sign the contracts in trust on their behalf and as their agent, and that progresses.
So effectively, then that opens up, say, for you to be appointed as somebody's solicitor, you'd have no issue being able to represent somebody in County Kerry. You could work it in the same way. So a lot of people think they have to use a solicitor who's local, do they?
Yeah, no, people ask me this question all the time. Can you act all over the country? I can. It makes no difference because we don't visit the property.
Yeah,
so
the day of actually physically going in is kind of gone.
Exactly. Well, we don't have to. And as I say, a solicitor, remember, looks at the legal stuff, not the physical. And the physical structure, second-hand house, get a survey done, get a structural survey, or else do it yourself. But
and you make sure the title is clean.
We have to make sure title is clean, and we do that by looking at the documents and so on and so forth.
Very good. And last and final question, what's the one thing you love about your job?
I love when, especially in relation to the property aspect of it, people getting the keys of the house.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah, especially first-time buyers.
Yeah.
Some people obviously are experienced in the game, but some people are not. And for a first-time buyer, perhaps somebody coming here from abroad, perhaps an Irish person, but getting the keys for the first time, it's a thrilling thing for them.
Yeah, it's exciting.
We get emails from them, or messages online or whatever, and it's great to see it. And,
no, I think that's the one thing I love about my job as well, because for some people, they may only ever buy one house in their entire lifetime.
And it's their biggest investment as well.
And that's why it blows my mind that people don't spend more time and effort into the research. But however, thank you very much for your time today.
I really
enjoyed the chat.
Happy to talk to you.
Brilliant.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
Good stuff.